Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, March 2nd, 2017. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about homebrewing. This week, homebrewers Ron Schmidt and Jamie Conway share a stout collaboration involving vanilla beans and a rye whiskey barrel. We gather at Steve's Brew Shop to evaluate. If you're new to homebrewing and would like to get into the hobby for the first time, check out our website, basicbrewing.com, where you can find archives of our audio and video podcasts and our DVDs to walk you through basic and more advanced brewing techniques. And if you buy any of our DVD combos, you get a free Basic Brewing bottle opener. And don't forget to get a copy of our Brewer's Logbook. You can use it to log and track up to 50 batches of beer. You can find me on Twitter. My username is Basic Brewing, all one word. We have a Basic Brewing Radio and Basic Brewing Video page on Facebook at facebook.com/basicbrewing. Thanks again to everybody clicking on the Amazon.com associate link on our basicbrewing.com site. Whenever you think of Amazon shopping, think of us first and click on our associate link on the right-hand page of basicbrewing.com. Won't cost you any extra, but you'll be helping us to bring you the show, and we greatly appreciate your support. We also have associate links for Brew Your Own Magazine and the American Homebrewers Association on our site as well. Just drinking coffee so far this morning. Maybe I need some more. You can find our Basic Brewing iPhone app on iTunes, our Android app at Amazon.com. We have a Windows phone app. We're on the BlackBerry podcast directory. We're on the Stitcher app as well. We're on Google Play Music, and we're on the iHeartRadio app too. If you want to put a tip in our tip jar, some coinage in our virtual guitar case, you can go to basicbrewing.com/support, and thanks to everybody who's done so already. Here's an update on my latest mead. It's finally finished fermenting, apparently, and the yeast has started to slowly flocculate out. It's a very simple mead so far, just honey and water, a little nutrient, some USO5, and some bread yeast. Got a little impatient there, and pitched some bread yeast to kind of speed up the process. 2 gallons of mead, or a little over 2 gallons of mead, I guess. I'm thinking of splitting it and playing around with some flavorings. So looking forward to that. It tasted pretty good. The honey that I bought from Steve tasted good on its own, though, so I want to leave some of it plain for sure. This past Friday, Steve Wilkes had to head out of town, so he asked me to look after his shop, Steve's Brew Shop, there in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I managed to get through the day without breaking anything or screwing up the cash register, I think. And as I was behind the counter, I kept looking over at these 1-gallon wine ingredient kits he's got for sale. I'm generally not a wine guy, and I haven't made wine from a kit in a while. So 1 gallon appeared, that appeals to me, just 1 gallon of wine. So I sold myself a Pinot Noir kit in a 2-gallon plastic bucket, and I put that together this past weekend. It was a lot of fun, kind of like making Kool-Aid and pitching yeast in there. What I mean is it is a high-quality kit, but compared to brewing beer, mixing up a wine kit is really simple. And so I'm looking forward to that process. I'm looking for some travel advice. My family and I are going to Victoria and Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada for spring break in a couple of weeks. And my wife has most of our time mapped out. She's good at that kind of thing. But there may be some time for beer breaks. So what breweries should we visit in and around Victoria and Vancouver? Drop me a line and let me know. And my son, who's going up college up there in Seattle at the University of Washington, he's turning 20, and he says that the legal drinking age in Canada is 18. So he's he's wanting to drink a legal beer, and it might be cool to buy my son his first legal beer. So anyway, drop me a line, let me know. James at basicbrewing.com, or use the contact form at basicbrewing.com. Our sponsors, Desiree and Dave of High Gravity in Tulsa, are getting closer to moving to their new store. Desiree posted an update saying that the build-out is complete on the new location. They're working on permits now to brew beer and make wine commercially at the new location, which will have a tasting room. And they're more than 3/4 of the way toward their goal on GoFundMe.com to raise money to help with the move. Desiree and Dave are offering some cool premiums for those who help out by giving to that campaign. Go to GoFundMe.com and search for High Gravity to check out those premiums. I guess you call it premiums. They're thank you gifts for helping out. And there's pictures of the new space there as well. Looks really nice. And High Gravity has a full line of electric brewing systems and controllers to fit many brewing needs. Their Warthog electric brewing controllers are awesome. I really enjoy brewing so much more since I've gotten my electric system. I was at the gas station yesterday looking at the propane tanks while I was filling up my gas tank in my car, and I can't remember the last time I had to trade one in. I've still got one for the grill, barbecue grill, but it sure is nice not to have to run to the store to trade in a propane tank before brewing. For me, electric brewing is the way to go. Check out all the high-gravity systems and Warthog controllers that Dave and Desiree have at highgravitybrew.com. One of the perks of having a homebrew shop is apparently that brewers occasionally share some tasty beers. Jamie Conway and Ron Schmidt brought a couple of their stouts to share with Steve down at his homebrew shop, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to have a conversation. Little Foley work here. Where are we, Steve?
We're at Steve's Brew Shop, where you can find all the ingredients and equipment for your full line of brewing supplies. I'm getting better at that.
That was Steve Wilkes. And who else have we got here?
My name's Ron Schmidt. I'm a home brewer. Been homebrewing for 3+ years, and I just love beer.
And I'm Jamie Conway. Been homebrewing for about a year.
And Ron, you have a rest of the story. You're not only a home brewer, you just got a new job recently.
That's correct. I was going to a homebrew meeting to challenge the Fayetteville Homebrewers Club against the Bentonville Homebrewers Club, and one of the local brewery owners was there, Jesse Core. After the meeting, I thought we were going to talk about this competition that I put forth, and immediately he said, "Want to come brew for me?" So I am now a production brewer, but my primary job is to new product development, pilot batch.
Wow. So you're coming up with new products for a pretty big brewery here in Northwest Arkansas.
That's very correct. Kind of the game plan for Core is a new 20-barrel batch every month.
So what's your pilot system?
It's a a more beer homebrew system. It's got a electronic control for hot liquor tank and mash tun. It's got a automatic gas for hot liquor tank, and pretty much it's a homebrew system on steroids.
And I think that's the system that they started out with before they got their big 20-barrel system. I think that's what Core was brewing on.
That is very correct. I think it's a 2010 original.
So what kind of beers do you like to brew, and what kind of beers are you going to be setting forth for them? Or did they give you any goals, or did they just leave it wide open, or without discussing trade secrets or too much information, background information?
Sure. Kind of what Jesse said was we've got to reconnect with homebrewers and kind of get that that grassroots feeling back to us. Pretty much left it wide open. My personal favorite beer to brew is a stout, which we'll sample this evening. However, I've opened up. I'm not a big IPA fan as far as drinking, but I'm starting to really experiment with a lot of IPAs and a lot of new IPA fruit flavors, picking up on some of the hops and trying to add some fruit puree to kind of enhance both sides of it. So that's kind of the direction we're going.
I hear people like IPAs. I think it's going to be a big thing. I think that style's got legs.
It's the wave of the future.
Well, excellent. Well, congratulations. That's big.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And again, I'm a home brewer at heart, and it's kind of I would say a dream job to work in a very big commercial production brewery, and your primary job be to homebrew.
Okay, Jamie, top that.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. I've been just only doing it for about a year. I met Ron here at our local flops, our local home club meetings, and by circumstance we had a brew-in, and him, me, and one other person were the only ones to show up, and we kind of just hit it off, and he's been nice enough to take me under his wing and show me a lot of the education that he's had, and just help me along the way, and here we are.
Well, excellent. And then you've got a homebrew shop mentor here, and Steve. Absolutely. Steve, how's Steve's customer service?
I would say excellent. I mean, from the get-go, he's just kind of given us carte blanche, and then I've had some special requests for some blood orange puree, and he's like, I'll get right on it and get it right over to you. So, week later, I've got the blood orange and wide variety of hops. I would say that the variety is, there's so many hops out there, but he's got a lot of those to choose from, and it's just been very easy to kind of shy away from going more online ordering and just coming by Steve's and picking up what I need.
And what he's got here is it's a place that you want to come shop. I mean, what you've done with the place, I enjoy coming here and just talking shop and checking out all the stuff and what's new and all that sort of stuff. But you've definitely done a great job with turning what you've done with this store.
There you go, Steve.
Oh, shucks.
You got to deal with him, but other than that,
yeah, that's right. I split my pants out today.
You literally split your pants. You didn't have to say that.
Well, I know, you can cut that out.
I'm not going to cut that out. It was all in the service of keeping the store clean, though.
That's right. Absolutely, that's actually true.
Okay, now we're about to sample a beer.
Yes.
While I'm sampling, Ron, why don't you? Is this your baby, or it's a collaborative baby, or?
So are we drinking the leaded or unleaded first?
Non-barrel.
Okay. When Jamie and I got together and decided we wanted to make a collaboration stout, we kind of talked about our personal favorites. Jamie wanted to do a vanilla aged stout, and I 2 years ago bought a rye whiskey barrel from, forgot where, Covell, somewhere in Chicago. Anyway, it's a 7-barrel, 7-gallon barrel. It's a 7-gallon barrel, and it was rye whiskey that was in it. And I bought it for $150. And first time I used it, made my first stout and poured it in there, and it tasted like rye whiskey. So I've kind of toned it down a little bit and kind of used it a little bit more and a little bit more. So the whole idea was that we would make a collaboration 5-gallon. We would combine the two batches. We would ferment them and then split them afterwards, and he would age his on vanilla, and I would put mine in the rye whiskey barrel.
So what are we tasting here?
Well, this is both the recipes, just like Ron said, blended together. He made a chocolate stout, I made a cream stout. They just both went together, and we had no idea what was going to happen. I mean, Ron actually had this idea. We both brewed in his garage, with the idea that we'd have these ready. I think it was right around Thanksgiving was kind of what we were shooting for, and we just kind of planned around that. And I'm super happy with the way it turned out. I've got a lot of good feedback from beer drinkers, and we did the whole bottle labels, and we really went all out with this because we wanted it to
Just so you'll know, you're drinking about a $50 bottle of Homebrew Stout.
With everything we put into that, I think we concluded it was about a $600 batch of beer with label design and bottles and all the recipes and everything in that combined. So,
wow. Well, it's a very cool label. I mean, it does look professional. Who wants to describe the animal that's on?
It depends on your.
We have a PG rated show.
Rating, okay.
It's definitely tongue in cheek.
It's tongue in somewhere.
There's.
I'll let Jamie do it.
Okay, well, like I said, it's meant to be tongue in cheek. I'll leave some left for the imagination. It's a hybrid of a rooster and a donkey, and the title is Gallus et Usinum, which is Latin. So we could, leave a little bit more for.
You can Google that.
Yeah.
Hey, Google.
Look it up, but it's definitely a play on words, and I think your listeners can definitely do the math on a rooster and a donkey combination.
Kind of get that Chernobyl thing going.
We wanted to go old world kind of look with, just the artwork on it, and I ended up wax dipping some of the bottles because I wanted to cellar it, and we've talked about making this a yearly tradition and doing this every year about the same time, and just give them out to family for Christmas presents, and during the holidays is kind of what we were shooting for.
So let's put ourselves on the spot here, Steve. Before we let them talk about the recipe, let's give our impressions.
Sure.
Throw your traditional straight line. What are your impressions, Steve?
I do a great John Wayne.
Well, as a Rooster Cogburn, that's right. You're half right.
Oh, Rooster.
Oh, Mister,
You're one mighty eye.
Mister Cogburn.
Well, this beer is just as smooth as silk. That's the thing that struck me first about it. The mouthfeel is very luxurious. And I do get some vanilla out of it. It's just a really nice. It's not real chocolatey. It's not coffee like at all to me. I don't get a big hit of. It's not burnt. It doesn't have that burnt astringency that I sometimes get with stouts. So that's my first impression.
I was going to say bitter chocolate. I mean, it's like drink. To me, it's like drinking sort of a liquid bitter chocolate in that, not so bitter, but in the world of chocolate it would be bitter. It's delicious, it's creamy.
Very creamy.
And I could swear I taste coconut.
Really?
I don't know what it is, whether it's something in the mouthfeel or something but I'm getting triggered for coconut. I swear it's like a Mounds bar.
Yeah. It does have that Mounds bar thing going, except for I don't get the coconut. But I know what you're saying. I think it's the richness and the creaminess. I don't get the coconut. But
it's like on the tip of my tongue.
Okay.
A little bit, and I don't know what it is, but those are the neurons that are being fired off in my little head.
One of the things that it's kind of always hit me with it is I kind of compared it to a beer version of like a chocolate vanilla Coke you'd get from like Sonic or something that kind of rang to me. Like you were saying, the chocolatiness on my end of the recipe, I think I could have definitely added some black pat or something else to keep it a little bit color-wise. I was a little disappointed. It was more of a porter. I think Ron's kind of helped darken it up when we combined the two, but I was a little bit light on color and probably a little bit of that boldness with the recipe that I came with. So
Jamie, talk about your half.
It had about 12 pounds of Maris Otter. I had some flake barley in there, Breeze Caramel 60. I had some Breeze Caramel 120, Dingman Special B, some breeze chocolate, some crisp pale chocolate, and roasted barley, and then I added a pound of lactose in the last 15 minutes.
I wonder if it's the roast character that's.
I think you're getting a little bit of a note from the roasted and the vanilla aging. Yep. That may be kind of triggering that the coconut feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the last beer that I made, or one of the last beers I made, was with toasted coconut. And maybe it's that toasted character, and then the creaminess of the vanilla character coming together to do like a synthesized coconut kind of a thing. Absolutely. It's whatever it is, it's delicious.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, I left out. We got vanilla beans from our local organic store, Ozark Natural Foods, and just so I don't forget, my a good friend of mine did the logos. Brad Williams at Red Rooster Design, who does local graphic design here. Ron and I just kind of had this harebrained idea in his garage and met at my buddy's place and just kind of told him what we wanted. And I mean, he blew my socks off with what he came back with. I mean, I think presentation wise, you can put those on the shelf next to any big time brewery, and it would hold up on that aspect.
You bet there's no government warning, but other than that, I would not hesitate to buy something that look at that. I think he did a great job. There's roosters all through this.
There is.
But how did you treat the vanilla?
What we did was we rigged up a little hot ball that Ron had, and basically I keg aged mine while Ron's was being barrel aged, and just put them on a hot ball and let it dangle in the keg for, I think it was another 2 weeks or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty much all it was for that.
Did you slice up the vanilla beans or split them?
We soaked them in whiskey, or what you treated Ron's barrel with, and then put them on in there.
In order to kind of rehydrate them, so we split them open in half long ways. Put them in basically. I don't know what. The only thing I know to call it is a hot ball, but it's a tea ball.
Sure. Yeah.
So we put them all in there, rehydrated in a little bit of whiskey, and then let the whiskey kind of shake off, and then wrap that around the keg, and just kind of cold conditioned it for a little bit with Jamie's version.
So you didn't pour the whiskey in there?
We did not.
I would have poured the whiskey in it.
I would have drank it.
I think Ron actually did a shot with the whiskey after we did put it in the shot.
Yes, we did. We kind of had a big cup, and we soaked them, and then I was like, all right, vanilla whiskey. Boom.
It's a cold scotchy. Instead of a hot scotchy, it's a cold scotchy. Cold scotchy. What's the ABV on this, by the way?
I think it was about 6.6%.
Oh, okay.
So it's, and I hate the term session, but it's a session stout.
Session Imperial Stout.
As it opens up a little bit, I'm kind of getting a breadiness to it, which I really like. I like bready graininess in beers a lot. And so I'm really tasting that quite a bit. And the lactose, I'm sure, that's a creaminess. It's really a very, very nice beer.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's clean as a whistle. I mean, there's nothing weird going on. Yeah.
Other than the label.
Well, yeah. Well,
So let's take a tasting break between the two beers, and let's talk about flops. We don't here I am in Northwest Arkansas. I got this homebrew club right in my backyard, and I hardly ever talk about the flops people. So talk about the local club.
Flops has been around for quite some time. Andy Sparks had a homebrew shop, and he's kind of been real big into the homebrew club. I don't know the exact date of when Flops was established, and for those of you that don't know what Flops means, it is Fayetteville Lovers of Pure Suds. There may be a possible coup with our logo. It's a pair of flip-flops. Has nothing to do with beer, in my opinion. But we'll leave that to forces that be. But Flops is a great club. We meet at Apple Blossom every third Thursday of the month, and it's a open forum. We do have a board of, or directors, so to speak. So we have I'm the vice president. Jamie is a committee member and
Social media guy.
So
the flocculator.
The flocculator. I'm called the secondary. There's a primary, and there's so we're using beer terminology, keeping it fun. We have the hop scheduler, which is the contest guy who figures out what kind of competitions are going around town or in the country. However, it's a fun group. We usually have anywhere from 15 to 20 beers to try that are all, local homebrew guys and girls that just want to try their best and get opinions of it. We are in the process, as I had mentioned earlier, we have challenged, since we have formed a group from Bentonville, and Rogers calls themselves the Ozark Zymergeralist or blah, blah, blah.
Like Worcestershire.
Zymergists, maybe?
Zymergy, yeah, that's right. What you said. So they call themselves the Oz Group. So back in December, I went from our meeting up to their meeting and challenged them to. In the past, we've had a quarterly iron brewer competition. So we have styles that we pick every quarter, and the third month of the quarter, we all vote and say, do you like Ron's beer? Say aye. And I wanted to kind of legitimize that a little bit more and go a little bit further. So what we're doing is we're having an actual competition that is to be judged between the Fayetteville group and the Bentonville group. So our first competition is March 25th at the Core Pub in Springdale off of Emma Street. So at 6 p.m., come in. If you have beer and you're not part of the club, bring it. We'll drink it.
It's Irish style beers is what the competition for this quarter is.
There you go.
And subsequent quarterly events will be the American Pale Ale, American IPA, a Saison, and then we're not quite sure on the fourth quarter. It's called High Gravity Beers, which opens it up to mini styles. So we may narrow that down and kind of pull that back into range so that we can have something that's a little more easier to kind of figure out. But the whole idea was to create a kind of a friendly rivalry between the North group and the South group and just get the interest of home brewing and brewing into style and brewing into a particular range of parameters so that as home brewers and however far you want to take your home brewing, you would at least know that there is some sort of rule that you have to follow to be in a style. So that's kind of our whole intent.
And I've been to Flops meetings. I haven't been to a lot of them because my wife doesn't like to go to homebrew club meetings for some reason, and so I hesitate to drive myself because there is a lot of sampling.
That's
so
right.
for it's a long way for me to drive home. So anyway, so we haven't talked about your beer, Ron.
Sure. Mine started off as a dry Irish stout. The intent was to make it a little bit more malt forward. I used a Pilsen malt for the base. Added about probably about 10% of Irish proper stout malt, and then chocolate malt, black malt, flake barley, and then smoked malt. So I've tried to give it a little bit wider range, but the intent of using Pilsner malt as the base malt was that it wouldn't overpower sweetness or anything like that. It was a higher extract malt and would kind of dry out a little bit more. and I'm going to plug Ray Daniels because it's one of the instructors that I went to school with. And, he's got recipes for, styles of beers. And that's all, whenever I make a beer, I go straight to designing great beers. And I just look at the recipe and kind of follow the guidelines and say, okay, this is going to be my recipe profile.
Yeah, Ray's been on the show multiple times, and I say that his book and then Randy Mosher's Radical Brewing, those two books were the books that really gave me confidence in designing my own recipes, from scratch. And before there was brewing software, I had the yellow tablets full of calculations, with the Ray Daniels IBU formula and things like that. So we'd love to give Ray a plug. We're on Steve has poured the second beer, and man,
that barrel comes through. That barrel is there. This is amazing.
This is the barrel aged version of our collaboration. So Jamie's version. Let me back up. We both brewed a separate batch. We blended both of the batch. Then we separated the blended batch, put his half on vanilla beans, put my half on the bourbon barrel. So you're tasting kind of a collaboration with our own unique styles that we felt like we wanted to have for our own beers.
So I lost track.
So this one does not have the vanilla bean.
It does not. Correct.
And I get that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and the also, and you had lactose, right, Jamie?
Well,
and
it's clearing up.
Yeah, we have an antibiotic.
Yeah.
We have some cream for that.
Yeah. They both technically have the lactose because the beers were blended.
Okay, so I'll have to go back and listen to that later. So, so is it? So this is both a blend of both beers.
Yes, correct.
Okay, both beers, and then yours was split off. So there's no vanilla bean.
No vanilla bean.
Okay.
That's no vanilla bean.
We fermented them at the same time, pitched the same yeast, and it was basically when we went to secondary was when they went their separate ways. Where I added vanilla beans and Ron put his in the bourbon barrel.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
So this is. So we essentially have the two brought together and then split again to have vanilla bean in one and then the whiskey barrel in the other. Okay.
That's
all right. Now I'm up to speed.
That's correct.
Everybody else in the audience is like, yeah, we got it.
Catch up.
Boy, that's delicious.
So, just so you'll know, this is a rye whiskey barrel that I've had for about 2 years. And I've done 4 different stouts in it, some with coconut, some with just rehydrating it with rye whiskey. But this one, I can't seem to kill this barrel.
Boy, I can't imagine what the first one tasted like because, boy, the whiskey really is. It's nicely balanced, but, it is very present. I'm very surprised at the amount of whiskey flavor.
It's a little hot on the throat because now that we're tasting this the sample that I made, I'm getting a little whiskey burn. So it's hot. Coming in hot.
Lightweight.
To me, I'm not a big barrel aged guy, but I don't find it to be as overpowering, which would be weird because I think, that's the big hot style. It seems like everybody wants to throw something in whatever barrel they can anymore, which we all saw at Frostfest. But, to me, I'm not even a big bourbon guy, and I can, it just doesn't seem too much to me.
No, I'm not saying it's too much. I'm just saying that it is very, especially compared to the previous beer. Right. It's like, wow, that's the added ingredient.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. It's not too much. I've had barrel aged beers that just the barrel knocked you over. And rye I like rye whiskey, and I could tell that this was rye whiskey. I could tell it wasn't a bourbon barrel. It wasn't a wine barrel. This was a rye barrel, and I could really taste that. So kudos.
Yeah, and I'm getting the wood character in the beer. I'm not going to say I'm getting wood.
That's what you said.
There's enough innuendos floating around here with the labels already.
You just leave that there. Leave that laying right there.
Innuendo. But it's nicely balanced. I'm going to say that I think it has a teeny bit less body than the original beer. Does anybody else feel that way?
Would totally agree, and in trying to figure this out, what I'm getting is that whatever alcohol notes are still left in the wood that's in the barrel are kind of pulling away from some of that body. So again, going back to the flaked barley, having the experience of putting stouts inside this barrel, they just come out flat. So. Yeah. And trying to get that head retention to kind of stick around. But I'm telling you, whatever barrel I bought, I cannot figure out why it won't die.
It just keeps giving. Which brings up another question. What do you do with the barrel between usings? You can't leave a barrel. They say don't leave a barrel dry.
That's correct.
Because it'll spring leaks and bad things will happen. The bugs will get in there, whatever, microbial bugs. So how do you keep the barrel fresh or prepare the barrel between batches?
So what I've done is I've gone online and I've tried to understand how to take care of a barrel once the beer is gone from it. So basically what I do once I take the beer out of it is I'll just get Star San and just make a very mild batch of it, and I'll fill it up. I'll fill up the barrel with hot water, and then I'll wait for the barrel to cool down to about 150 degrees, and then add just an ounce of Star San. And then the way this barrel is shaped, it's got just a bung at the top, and just hammer the bung in and just leave the bung closed up. Then, a few days later, I'll pour that out, and then I will go to the liquor store and get the cheapest bottle of vodka and get a gallon of it and just rehydrate with vodka, just to sort of sterilize it, and bung it back and close it up, leave it in there for a couple of days, pour that out, and then the expensive part is going to get a gallon of rye whiskey.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Then I pour the gallon of rye whiskey back in, close the bung, and just leave it in there until it's time to use it again.
Huh.
And then pour it out before I get ready to transfer.
Okay, well, so there may be a reason why there's a rye whiskey character in there.
So the 1 gallon of rye whiskey is enough to keep the barrel hydrated over time.
So you slosh that around in there and spread it around in there?
Basically, I have just a little barrel stand, a homemade wooden barrel stand. So every couple of days, I'll just flip it a quarter of a turn and just keep flipping it. And after about 2 weeks, I'll open up the bung and pour it out, and I will probably lose about 50% of whatever I put in there.
Well, there you go.
That's the angel share.
That's our share. That's the beer share. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, that's the luxury of working with a 7-gallon barrel as opposed to a 55-gallon barrel or whatever. There's you can't roll around the big boys.
No. And if I might add, with a smaller batch like this, with a 7-gallon barrel, the contact time, there's more contact surface, so the aging process doesn't take as long as if you were in a traditional brewery using a 55-gallon. Within 2 weeks, I mean, if you don't take it out in 2 weeks, you're gone.
The ratio of surface to beer is a lot higher with a smaller barrel. We've talked about that with Andy. Andy had as a little barrel as well. So theoretically, I mean, you could do, using that technique, you could put bourbon in there instead of rye whiskey and kind of change the characteristics of the next batch.
That is correct. I do want to do a traditional Tennessee whiskey bourbon. I just don't know how far gone the rye is inside the oak that I have. That's why in between each time I barrel age something, I try in my mind thinking that I'm cleansing it with vodka. But, each time I pour the vodka out, it's brown as whiskey. So, I don't know what it's, what kind of char the barrel has itself. But it's a very unique barrel because it's got little honeycombs and ridges, and so they've really done a good job of making contact surface more present.
Now, I was thinking about how could I do this beer if I didn't have a barrel, and so you'd use staves or chips of some kind, spiral, yeah, yeah, and so the comment about the shorter time on the barrel because I've never done a barrel-aged beer. So in my mind, I'm like, that sucker's got to sit in there for a year. But no, absolutely not. I mean, as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, of course. That'd just be deadly.
Yes. Okay. It would no longer be beer or ale or whatever you want to call
it. Well, I wouldn't go into what that would be.
Well, it's delicious. A lot of people, they keep using the barrel until it loses, a lot of the wood character, a lot of the liquor character, and then they start throwing, bugs in there. You start doing sour beers. Are there any? Do you guys have any kind of aspirations to do weird, funky stuff?
Well, now that Ron's got his gig, it's kind of hard to get him to collaborate. Like I mentioned earlier, we plan on doing this beer on a yearly deal, around the holidays, but he's a little bit harder to pin down now. Fortunately, I just bought a new brewing system, so he's going to help me get that dialed in this coming Saturday. But, I like to think so, but he's got this other thing taking up most of his time. So,
well, you know what? Jesse Core's not going to miss 10 gallons of wort.
Not at all. Not at all.
I think, Jamie, if you drop by with a couple of carboys.
Yeah. One thing I will say is that, I'm trying to figure out when the end of my barrel is coming up. It doesn't seem to be wanting to give up, but my plan is to actually put a airlock on the barrel, put some sort of Belgian Saison style beer, and put some wild stuff in it, maybe a little bit of fruit, and just give the barrel back to the beer and just let them have it. But that would be my first attempt at a sour beer using wild yeast.
And then Jesse might not let you back in the building.
Well, he's already made it clear, do not bring wild yeast in my brewery.
You have to wear one of those Breaking Bad clean suits around your house.
They like their women wild, not their yeast.
All right. Well, maybe that's the note to end on.
I think that could be it.
We've gotten to the core of the issue here.
That's right.
All right. Well, I have a little bit more in my cup. We must say we've been sampling small samples.
Yes, we have. Very small.
Being respectful.
Yes.
Responsible.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, appreciate you having us on.
Thanks, Ron.
I very much appreciate it. And thank you, Steve. And thank you. I am so grateful that you guys did this for us.
Steve, he already thanked you for me.
Thank you, James.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again to Jamie and Ron, and, of course, to Steve. Those were some very tasty beers. And congratulations to Ron, again, on his new gig at Core Brewing Company. Looking forward to what he comes up with. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to James at basicbrewing.com or just fill out the contact form at basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our support link where you can throw a couple of bucks into the tip jar by subscribing financially to our podcasts. Be sure to check out our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and Introduction to Wine Kits. You can find them all on our site. You get a free Basic Brewing bottle opener with any DVD combo, and you can check out our Basic Brewing shirts in the store as well. You can find our logbooks where you can track and log up to 50 batches of beer. Check all that out at basicbrewingshop.com. And thanks to everybody who's continued to click on our Amazon.com link. We greatly appreciate the support there. Featured products this week that were purchased through the link are Samsung Gear S2 Smartwatch, Classic Rose Gold, and Vintage Organic Molasses. Wonder if that's going to go into a beer. Thanks again, everybody, and remember, I can't tell who bought what, so no worries there. Just click on the Amazon.com logo on our site the next time you feel like Amazon shopping. We greatly appreciate your support. Don't forget you can also join the American Homebrewers Association and subscribe to Brew Your Own magazine through the associate links on basicbrewing.com. That's all until next time. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help from Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dotson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. So long.